Step D, projecting outcomes. Once you have completed Step C and you have developed 2 or 3 or 4 different alternatives, if only temporarily, you're ready to start with Step D. For each of your final alternatives, you need to project the likely outcome. You want to see what might happen. This should be guided both by the intended outcome and also possible unintended outcomes. You want to look at what you hope is going to happen, what you intend to happen, but also be aware that there may be unintended consequences. The intended outcomes align with Step A and B, right? That's what you want to do. You hope that they address the problem and are consistent with the values of the organization. This will take using information that you have collected in order to project the outcomes, including original data, secondary data, and combining the two together. For each of the criteria you established in Step A, you should project an outcome, even if for some the projection is speculative and not very precise. So we're going to go back to Step A, use those criteria in this Step D. If you are borrowing an alternative from another setting, let's say you found a nonprofit organization that has done something successful and you want to use that for your for-profit organization, you can base your projection on earlier outcomes for that nonprofit. If you have created an alternative from scratch, something brand new, then you may need to collect new or original data and figure out a way to cleverly use secondary data to make your projections. You can use a table, as you did in the previous steps, to summarize your information. And you would do this by listing all of your alternatives and then listing all of your criteria and then filling in each cell with some information that allows you to make comparisons. Some of the key questions you might want to ask here are: what type of secondary data is available from the organization related to the problem? Do they collect information? What type of original data can you collect efficiently and effectively that relates to the problem? You probably don't have a lot of time, but if you can collect something quickly, that could help. If you could field a short survey in person or online, what would you ask and who would you ask to collect additional information? If you could conduct interviews, what would you ask and who would you ask and what would you learn? How might you combine secondary and original data to make your projections? What's also very important is that you look at how confident you are in your projections. You don't want to oversell the projections you make. If you're not sure, then you have to be clear about that and say it may be this amount or it may be that amount, but I'm not quite sure. How far into the future are you confident about your projections? For long-term problems, it's going to be much more difficult to project outcomes than for short-term. And finally, can you measure with secondary or original data the unintended outcomes of what you're planning on doing?